What's going on, people? So, back in high school, ninth grade sounds right? Yeah, it's got to be ninth grade. Either way, so back then, right, I was going to Woodside High School up in Newport News, if you're familiar with that. That's cool, I guess. But either way, I was going there, and that was actually the first time that I noticed shoes, right? Now, obviously, I did know that shoes were a thing before that. This is just like the first time I actually saw a pair and thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool, right? And so, the first pair that I remember standing out, the first three or whatever, would be, for one, the Jordan 12, which has been talked about a lot of times here. And there's also the Iverson question, which, given that he was from the area, that was kind of a given that those would be everywhere. But they were cool looking, so they stood out as well. And I also remember seeing this guy right here, right? And so, up until recently, I'd had the other two, and I was like, maybe one day I'll get that other thing. I could never remember really what it was or anything. I figured I'd know it if I saw it, and then I saw it, and so here we are, right? So, let's get on into it. Side of the box and stuff, right? For people that care, there's that. It's actually on both sides of this particular box, so that's kind of cool, I guess. But either way, so there's going to be that. Now that I got through the little backstory, let's go ahead and just get on into this. I don't think this review needs to be as long as all those ones I did yesterday. Those videos, my God, I'm not looking forward to editing those, not at all. But hopefully people watch them, and then it'll make it worth having made them. You know what I'm saying? Either way, this right here, this is the Fila Grant Hill 2 in, I guess, white and navy, maybe? That sounds good. We'll go with that. Let's go ahead and knock this thing out, huh? So, I'm going to start with the bottom. Down there, what you're looking at, yeah, it's kind of cool, in my opinion, right? I mean, it's mostly plain, but I like this little translucent sort of thing that they have going on the front piece, right? So that's kind of all right. Not sure what this A2 thing is down at the bottom, or maybe it's 2A, but whatever. Again, I didn't buy these because I really know anything about them. I bought them to appease my inner child, right? A little bit of nostalgia goes into some purchases. Let's move on off here to this midsole, right? So what you're looking at up there, it's pretty plain, right? No fancy little translucent stuff going on here. Just white and some navy, as you probably noticed, right? But either way, you're going to see a whole lot of that. That's where these other pictures come in. I don't really know why I took so many, but I did. But either way, you can get a good look at these overall, kind of see what you might think of them. Then again, a lot of you probably already know about these shoes and likely know more than me, and already know how you feel about them, and you're just watching this video as a courtesy, which I do appreciate. But let's go ahead and get on into the actual breaking these things down and talk about them portion of the video, right? I call that the review portion. Either way, down here, right, all this stuff, starting with the toe box, got some leather on the top, kind of, sort of. It feels kind of fake and kind of plain and kind of cheap, but hey, it's there, right? It gives it a nice visual, I suppose. Same thing goes with what's lining down here around the outside of the toe box. So, plain white, as you saw. Also, one thing I didn't quite mention, down here on this midsole and stuff at the front, you do have the 25, because, 25-year anniversary, right? Anyways, moving along to the side here, right? So, what you're seeing is obviously this big blue patent leather sort of thing, then except for on the bottom where it's just painted on, basically. But you got that going on. So it's kind of cool. It gives it something else, so it's not just so plain. Because if this was just white on white, I'd these would be on the shelf still. I bought these from Champ Sports. I think it said store or what was it, 14,239 or something. Somewhere in Fayetteville or Radford, North Carolina. For anyone who wants extra details that truly don't matter. Either way, moving back to what we were actually talking about before I sidetracked myself. Here along this piece, right, you got a lot more of what was going on over here, which is basically that same cheap looking leather that I was talking about. So you got that happening. It's fine. It, like I said, it gives it a decent look, right? But that's just all that is. Until you get all the way to the back over here, and then you've got all this stuff going on. You see the big Fila thing, you got the logo, not the logo, but the signature at the bottom, right? So, typical stuff. I do kind of like the way they did the Fila thing over here, right? The way it's stitched on there with the little plasticky stuff in the back. It's just kind of a cool touch, right? In case you're curious, and in case you didn't notice it on this one, which is right here, on the other side, it's just plain and blue, right? So that is as cheap looking as the rest of this white leather stuff. But hey, It's fine. It's on the inside. Who's gonna notice that, right? Well, I mean, other than me when I'm doing these reviews. Let's continue. On the back, see that? Yeah. You got this strap thing here, right? I am not a huge fan of straps on shoes for the most part because I tend to find that they serve no function. And if something serves no function, I think to myself, why is this even there, right? I like the minimalist approach, though there are some things where I'll let it slide, like the Jordan 8s and whatnot, right? But yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of that thing, but it's at least executed nicely. It's got the same patent leather sort of thing with like the stitched on 25 and all that. And then past that, you just got this like white tab and whatnot going on, and this strangely bulky looking midsole, especially from the back area. It looks odd, like the tread of a tire. You know what I'm saying? Like a big tire, like you'd find on like a tractor or something. Either way, so that's mostly it. Also, well, since it's here, there's this thing hanging off on the side that I haven't taken off yet. So you got the little 25-year thing and this little flimsy plastic 25 thing as well with Fila on the other side, right? So there's that, right? For anybody who was curious. But I guess you saw it already, so I didn't really need to point it out. But it's in my way, and so I felt like I should address it. Either way, let's get on into this front area here, right? The laces, right? These are very much just some plain, thinnish, ropey style laces. They do have some sort of like metalish type of thing going on the tips here. So, it kind of gives a little bit of flair, though personally I try to keep the laces tucked in when I'm wearing my shoes. So, as cool as this looks, most people won't see it when I'm actually wearing them. Either way, you got that happening. Getting down here behind all the laces and stuff, you got the typical mesh style that you see on like, a lot of shoes. So it's nothing fancy. It doesn't even feel that great, honestly. And then as you get to the top, you've got that Fila logo thing, like kind of like you saw on the outside, but it's just over here now. And one thing I didn't notice at first when I did the initial unboxing on the Instagram live, this little piece up here, like where this little plastic is, right, to hold the laces, it's actually attached to this logo thing. So that's different, right? And also, speaking of different, above that you have this little pull tab thing, which is built into the tongue. It's not completely like nailed down or whatever. It's like you can actually get your finger behind there. But it's different. It's kind of weird, but it's not, it's not a bother. It's just odd. And then tongue-wise, material-wise, same as what you might expect with that cheap leather. So there's that. Let's go ahead and see what's going on the inside, huh? Down there, see that? Yeah, you do. It's a 25. You know why? Because again, 25-year anniversary. I've covered that like a million times talking about these things. So they really wanted to make sure you knew. And I get it, branding is important. And then as far as the rest of it goes, the inside and all that stuff, there's nothing special going on in there, right? Just your typical cheap shoe type things. But can't complain too much, right? I say these things look cheap, and they do, but I also got them for a super cheap price, so they were like $80 when everything was said and done, discounts and such, But either way, that's going to be about that. Then one thing I didn't quite mention on the back of the tongue, it's kind of like the same mesh type stuff you saw on the front of the tongue, just on the inside. So that's about that, just kind of lining everything out on the inside. So I think we've covered everything about this as far as like the visual goes. I'll hit you with some personal thoughts, we'll knock out some sizing, then I'll move on to some Onyx 350s. And my quarterly pickup video, which is why that big old stack of shoes is over there. Personal thoughts. Yeah, for a second I forgot where I was going with this. Personal thoughts, right? I really wanted these because of my somewhat nostalgia, if you want to call it that, and the fact that they were cheap, right? If these were full retail price, they'd still be wherever was asking me for full retail price, right? Just to be completely honest. Because overall, nothing about this shoe is the typical Tristan Stewart purchase, right? It's very white, it's very plain, it's basketball shoes, high top, it's usually not my thing. But when I saw the price came down significantly, I thought, okay, let's go ahead and jump in on this, right? And now looking at them in hand, right? Yeah, are they worth the 25-year wait to get them? No, they are not. But they're not like visually offensive, so I'm fine with like the $80 that I spent on them, right? They'll make a decent little piece to this little lineup here. I'll wear them every so often, probably not a lot because I got a lot of shoes and it's hard to get to everything, but I'll do what I can, right? But past all that stuff, I mean, just looking at them, seeing like the little details on here, some of them are kind of cool, right? Like this little logo I talked about. But otherwise, it's nothing special to me, as far as bragging about it. But I can say that I do like them. So I think that should mean something to someone. Perhaps. Or maybe it means nothing to anybody. I don't know. You can comment down below and let me know, right? Because you're the other people. I don't know what the other people are thinking until they tell me. All right, so that's enough of that, right? Let's go ahead. We'll knock out the sizing thing, and then we'll part ways. I bought these in a 9.5, right? I was a little skeptical. I was, because basketball shoes tend to feel like they're a little big to me, right? And that's just kind of the way things are, right? But I went with it, and it worked out all right. I do feel like if they didn't have the 9.5 and I had to go with the 9, I think I'd be okay. But I'm gonna lean towards saying your average person should probably just stick with like the 9.5 or true to size, whatever size you normally buy, and your typical Jordan shoes or other basketball shoes, maybe, except for those Kobe's I talked about a couple weeks ago. Not those. Those were not true to size. But either way, these you'll probably be fine, right? But they seem to be easy to find, so you should be able to try them on first. Now, once you do get all that stuff worked out, wearing these, it's not great. It's not a great experience. It isn't. The midsole just feels clunky. The whole shoe kind of does. It's not like those up-tempos where they look clunky and they don't feel like it. These look like it and feel like it. That's my personal opinion. Though they do feel kind of decent in the upper area, like around your foot. It kind of feels like there's some decent padding on the inside, so I'll give them that. But overall, this is kind of an $80 experience when it came to like walking around in these. So not going to talk them up because there's no reason to. But again, if you can get them for a price that you're okay with paying, then you can kind of put that stuff to the side because, then it's like just kind of what a compromise, I believe they call it. It's cheap, so it's not as great, so it's kind of okay. That's where I feel, how I feel. So hopefully that was some kind of useful to somebody out there. Again, I'll know when people start responding to this video in like the next couple weeks whenever it's out there to the world. For now, I have things to do, which is basically make other videos and such. So, from me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm going to do all that crap that I just said. And then tonight, I'll be doing a live thing and all that good stuff. So by the time you see this, it will have been like weeks ago. But it's a thing that I just happen to say because it's on my mind right now. Later, people.